With 1 month to play in the 2023 NFL season, things are all knotted up inside the NFC East as the Dallas Cowboys take down the Philadelphia Eagles in Arlington 33-13. The final score in Week 14. The Cowboys improve to 10-3. The Eagles fall to 10-3, and we are all even across the board. We've got plenty to talk about here on the First Word, presented by Dr. Pepper. We're here from the Star in Frisco with Isaiah Stanback and Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Youmans. 33-13 defense, 3 takeaways. They had 3 different forced fumbles against arguably the top 3 weapons on the Eagles offense. Jalen Hurts coughs it up. A.J. Brown coughs it up. Devontae Smith coughs it up. The offense does their job, works down the field, puts up 33 points, and then special teams, Brandon Aubrey, again, maybe the MVP of the night on what he was able to do on Sunday Night Football. Which unit impressed you the most in the complete win?
I'm going to have to say the defense. The defense did a heck of a job. You talk about forcing turnovers. These guys were all over the place. They made it very difficult on the Philadelphia Eagles to really do anything. And because of that, they gave the offense the ball, right? And the Dallas Cowboys offense possessed the ball for almost 2/3 of the game. And that was simply because the defense was able to get 3 and outs. They were able to force these guys to have low percentage in terms of third down conversions and get your offense back on the field.
You know, I worried about the run game. And they took care of that run game, our defense did. I want to say Gilmore, traveling, staying on top of A.J. Brown the way he did, forcing fumbles and making plays. That was just a fabulous thing, man. Our defense showed up at the biggest of time. And, hey, I love you, man. I love you, number 11. Parsons started the game off right, man, getting pressures, getting a sack. I love that when the players, when your big-name players come out and play the way that our defensive players did. I like that.
It's the 4th game where the Dallas Cowboys defense has forced at least 3 turnovers. You mentioned Stephon Gilmore. I want to go back to that. He turned back the clock. He looked like he was back in 2019 playing against A.J. Brown. You needed that against some of the better weapons of a Philadelphia team coming off a loss last week. It was the fact that the defense set the tone. How much confidence does that give you going into this final stretch?
Oh, yeah, because defense travels on the road, and you want your defense playing well. You want people playing the way they play. Now, I will say this right here. Losing Jonathan Hankins, that's a big question mark for me because he stopped that run up the middle. He makes Gallimore play better. He keeps the young guy Mozzie stable. So I want to see where that goes first before I'm ready to just crank it up.
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore definitely turned back the hands of time, but I loved it. You know, from the standpoint of that, you know, when you see somebody get emotionally tied into a game, you're either going to see 2 things. You're either going to see them fall back and have negative plays by getting penalties because their emotions get the control of them, or they're going to elevate their play and simply go out there and take it personal and make plays. And that's exactly what you saw to Gilmore today. He took it personal. Him and A.J. Brown were woofing the whole time, but guess what? A.J. Brown's head got out of the game. Gilmore got in the game.
And we've talked about this before in opposite finales, opposite finals of games like this where it's a benchmark opportunity for this franchise, a chance to go up against the better teams in the NFC and teams at the top of the playoff picture. And there have been other times where they haven't set the tone. They haven't had that same level of intensity. What did you think about the way that they handled themselves as a whole, as a team, as a mindset going into this matchup?
I think they executed. I mean, you could be in a highly emotional, highly competitive ball game and still go out there and just simply execute. And that's the best way to talk on the field. You know, you get into talking, you get into woofing, you get into physicality, post-play stuff. You can ignore all that noise and just simply go out there and continue to get first downs. When you get to the red zone, be 100%. When you're goal to goal, be 100%. That's how you shut up teams that want to do all the talking. The Coach Sirianni, A.J. Brown, all them other cats, obviously those guys are going to be walking home. They got all the time in the world to talk on the plane now.
We talked about Hassan Reddick, me and you especially on our podcast, yourself too, there, Kyle. And we worried about when Hassan Reddick got his big play. Early in the game when he got a sack on our guy, the right tackle, he still poised himself. They ran enough earlier to keep these guys at bay, and they kept punching and kept punching. Even when Fletcher Cox, boom, got that sack, then big Jalen Carter picked it up and took it to the house. Now we all wonder, okay, this is this adversity we're talking about. These guys poised themselves, came back, did what they had to do. I like that. This team is growing.
Yeah, the defense did not allow a defensive touchdown, or did not allow an Eagles offensive touchdown. Just 6 points, 2 field goals from Jake Elliott. That was all that the defense allowed. You spoke to the sacks. There were 3 sacks.
Yes.
Hassan Reddick finished with 2. You had Fletcher Cox that had the strip sack that led to the Davis return. What did you think about the offensive line and how they fared? Some holding calls in the middle there.
It's going to be physical like that. These guys are learning, and they're getting better and better. This is the game I was waiting to just see, because we had 3 or 4 games fairly early that I knew that they would perform well. But I just want to say, Mike Solari, keep pushing them. Coach McCarthy, keep pushing them. They still have a lot of work to do, but they played well today. This is the key to this game. They found a way to win. They done it at home. Right now, we're at the top of the East for I don't know how long, but we even in the NFC. We're at the top of that, too. We got a gridlock at the top. Just keep playing and you'll never know what happens. This thing is going to go as far as Dak and the offensive line can take them.
I love the fact that the offensive line came out there and just played bully ball today. You talk about 32 carries, 138 yards on the ground. These guys averaged 4.3. And because of that, these guys had the ball for 36 minutes. You understand how important that is? You heard Big Nate Newton, Big Nate over here, talk about time of possession all the time. 36 minutes with the ball in your hand, that keeps Jalen Hurts off the field. That keeps Swift without the ball in his hand, A.J. Brown without the ball in his hand. And when you can go out there and execute that way, I already mentioned that you're 100% on fourth down, you're 100% on goal to goal, you're 100% in the red zone. All these things allow for you to build your confidence on the offensive line. And when you can go out there and have almost a 50-50, attempts in terms of offensive balls and a ball in the air versus the ball on the ground, then all of a sudden defenses they don't know what to do, right? They're literally just throwing things against the wall, trying to figure out what's going to work best because they don't know what you're going to attack them with next. Great job today being highly efficient and on their execution. I love the fact that Coach McCarthy's spreading this thing out.
It was not pretty.
Yeah.
But Jake Ferguson found a way for big plays today. Brandon Cook found a way for big plays. And I will say this, as we go deeper and deeper into the season, we got Buffalo next week. You have to continue to find the players, the big-time players on your team, and they'll open everything else up, And when you got Tony Pollard, Jake Ferguson, you got CeeDee Lamb, you got Brandon Cooks, these guys are going to keep this thing flowing. As long as that can just stay sharp and decisive, like you've always said, Isaiah, we'll have a chance to compete high in every game.
Well, you also look at what Dak did today, 24 of 39, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wasn't his best day, but he made some phenomenal throws. He made some other throws that kept them in the ball game. They had the one mistake on the dropped pass the dropped fumble that was returned for a touchdown. But those are all things that can be relegated later on. Now, with all of this being said, with the situation at hand and the way that Dallas took care of business, was this their best win of 2023 so far?
I would say it's the best win at the most important time. I'll put it that way. I think that they needed this game going into this final stretch. You're going to go face a Buffalo team that's struggling. They had a big win today, but they're not playing their best ball, right? And then you have to finish it off against some other tough opponents. But you needed this ball game. You needed that get back, and now you have to just go do it on the road. And these guys they're ascending. Everything about every game that they've played over these last 4 or 5 game stretches, they're simply just rising up, right? Defense is playing better. Offense is playing better. Running game's improving, right? Penalties are starting to go down today, 7 penalties a day. So you took that curve back down. So I'm really excited about the trajectory of this team as long as they continue to ascend the way they are.
This is the biggest game they've played in the last 2 years. This is the biggest game because you needed to win to prove not to us as fans or sports writers or the talking heads, but to themselves that they can beat a team that's several games above 500. This is the biggest win to date going forward because you got this type of competition in the next 3 or 4 games. So you are ready to come through this adversity and do what you need to do.
Now you've got Buffalo next week, followed by Miami, both of those on the road. You come back home against Detroit, and then you round out the season on the road against Washington. But if there's any sort of vote of confidence, not only did you win this game, but you won it by 20. It's the 8th game this year that the Dallas Cowboys have won by 20 points or more. They're only the 5th team in NFL history to do that. You want to know what happened to those other 4 teams? 2007 Patriots went to the Super Bowl. 1999 Rams went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. 1996 Packers won the Super Bowl, and then back in 1961, the Oilers had 8 games like that. They won the AFL championship. So Plenty to talk about with this Cowboys team. We've got more post-game reaction coming your way in a matter of moments. Cowboys game night. You can catch that on Valley Sports Southwest and on DallasCowboys.com. But the Cowboys win this one in dominant fashion at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. 33-13. Everything even in the NFC East. And the Cowboys very happy inside that locker room in Arlington. For Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. That does it for us for the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper.